Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, let's figure out what is happening today, what we can expect moving forward, and all of that good stuff. So as usual, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button as it does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. The link is down below if you're interested. Pretty much get my access to my intraday thoughts that I just posted to wrap up the day to my members, right? So if you're interested, pretty much thoughts on my day throughout the day as it's moving, as Tesla's trading and updates and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Essentially, everything I say in this video is the information I pretty much already tell them, at least for the most part. Obviously, sometimes I think of new stuff, but anyway, link is below, $3 a month. Let's just jump into it. Tesla closing in just a few minutes here, right? About 2 minutes left. Closing at about 1.8% on the day in the green, which is great to see as compared to the market that is pretty much flat, right? Not really moving in any direction or overall. But SPY is definitely looking like it potentially wants to get a bit of a breakout here. But nonetheless, great day for Tesla. Now, overall, I'm just going to give you like a very overall rundown here, like super condensed. Overall, Tesla's looking bullish. I think there's a lot more bullishness than bearishness on Tesla, the way it looks, the way it's setting up, everything, just everything about Tesla. Not everything, but most things about Tesla are looking great. But there are some causes for concern potentially that we'll talk about right here, right now. So let's jump into it. Let's just get the causes for concern out of the way first, because there's a lot less to talk about there. So we'll just kind of get that out of the way. And the main thing I'm looking at right now, the main, I guess two concerns, there's two concerns are as follows. First, we have the daily chart. Like I said, overall, it's looking great, but we are potentially setting up a bit of a bearish divergence that I'm literally just now seeing after taking a quicker look here. But a little bit of a bearish divergence where essentially you can see we're technically making lower highs. Like we're making a lower high here, right? We're not making the same, at the very least, the same high, if not ideally even a higher high. We're making a lower high on the RSI, while the stock itself, of course, is making a higher high. So, right, as an example, again, this right here is making a higher high, which is great, which is good. But here, obviously, not so much, right? It's not the most convincing bearish divergence. It's not the most obvious bearish divergence. It's a very light bearish divergence, but, you know, just something to be careful about. However, with that being said, if we do get a rally, like I think we will, and if we do move up to, let's say, 265, maybe even like higher, like the 270s, 280s, whatever, like in January, it should nullify this entirely. This bearish divergence will get completely nullified, which I think is a very real possibility, mainly because this isn't a very convincing bearish divergence. It's a very light one. But nonetheless, thought I'd mention that regardless. Now, on top of that, we also have, of course, you know, we're still getting rejected by this blue line, right? This blue line rejected here, here, and then several times over here. And then once again, we're at it again. So, you know, we're still getting rejected by this overall blue line that you can see right here. And now this blue line, of course, you know, technically could have been potentially the bottom of this channel for, you know, this massive channel we were in. But on top of that, right, it's, if you just even eliminate this whole blue line past here and just essentially started from this little situation right here, we find ourselves in, right, ever since this rally pretty much. Could be in, like I said before, in an ascending wedge. Ascending wedges, while we're within it, are bullish, while but they usually, not always, but usually execute to the downside. So like I said, you bounce in between and then you move to the downside. So that still can be a factor to consider, right? This can still play out because we're still within it. We're having issues breaking out several times. To be fair, we also held it several times, but again, more often than not, they do break to the downside. This could be the anomaly. This could be that, you know, not rare, but somewhat less common instance where we do break to the upside. And thus, that's why this isn't a 100% thing where it goes to the downside, right? Nothing is 100% in the market. So just take that into account. And this could be one of those anomalies. Absolutely. But something to consider, of course. And the final thing, of course, is going to be taking a quick look in the weekly, right? We are, of course, entering a massive area of resistance, right? So I redid this line. Remember this line? So the red line that you see here is the same red line that we've always had, right? Give or take. It's pretty much the exact same one. But I also redid it to have kind of like a range, if you will, because, you know, this green line technically is also an area that we never really closed candles above until this weekly candle. You can see, right? The thing about this green line is it also touches more candles, right? A lot of people like to touch more candles. The more candles you can touch with the trend line, the better. The more, just the better it is. The more it kind of makes sense. The more weight it holds. The more valuable that trend line is as a resistance or support. Doesn't matter. But the point I'm trying to make here is the fact that so we have the red one, which is like the ultimate one, right? That's the one we really want to break. That's like the upper limit. But you know, the green one, again, many times we've touched it, and many times we couldn't really close candles, right? Except for like maybe this one, but again, I didn't draw to absolute pixel perfection. That you get the idea, right? But this weekly candle today that we're in, or I guess this week, very well in it. I think there's no arguing that we're within it. There's still 2 days that we can still technically get like a crazy rejection and even close down below it, which would essentially be below like almost 250. Still a possibility. I don't think it'll happen, but you know, it's technically a possibility. But you know, we are approaching the top part of it, the red line. That's like the really scary one, the one that we really need to break. To me, this is like the more important one personally, because if we break this one, then there's really no arguing it anymore, right? Because if you break the green one, you can still technically make the argument, but we never really broke the red one. Once you break the red one, there's not many more arguments you can make. Like it has been broken, plain and simple, right? Especially if we close above and hold above. But it also coincides with this blue line, which is essentially the same blue line-ish that I talked about over here, right? This one right here, this blue line right here. Pretty much the same kind of blue line, just on the weekly chart. Same concept, right? Of course, we are getting constantly rejected. We're pretty much hugging it over and over and over, getting closer and closer. So it looks like we want to potentially break through it, above it. But, we're still technically below it. And we're still getting rejected by it. But next week's candle will pretty much be X marks the spot. You can see they both coincide right here on next week's candle, and they coincide pretty much right at 265, 266-ish, give or take a couple of dollars. And that's going to be my main level. That's going to be the point I'm looking at. And the reason I say that could be bearish and could be a cause for concern is it's taking a lot longer to explain than I thought, I'll be honest. But if there's an area to reject and still have a bearish thesis, this would be that area. But on the flip side, this is the bullish thesis. If we break above it, we have technically finished the downtrend. We have technically finished the correction, at least in my eyes, from all-time highs ever since we've been pretty much downtrending and making constant lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. This would, in theory, start breaking that trend, and that's a very darn good sign for bulls and a very not good sign for the bears. So let's talk about the bullish side now, right? What's the bullish side? So first and foremost, there's a lot of bullish things, right? So I'll talk about the major ones. We have, of course, that inverted head and shoulders on the weekly, looking great. Still looks like it potentially wants to break through, in my opinion. Really want to see like a break above like almost 300 to really play this out. But you can also make the argument, the fact that, maybe it could be something like this as well, because we never really close a candle above like this, right? So you can make an argument, the fact that, it's also kind of roughly where X marks the spot, about like that high 260s range, where, you can make an argument, the fact that this could be the neckline of the inverted head and shoulders, and breaking, let's just make it simple, above 270 can trigger it. So 265 to 270, crucial area. Breaking above that is, like, I think personally, again, just my opinion, I could be wrong. I personally think if we break above that, the start to 2024, in theory, should be like a phenomenal one for Tesla, and it really should like truly do some crazy things, right? Some crazy movement. Because again, whenever you see Tesla do these kind of shakeouts, right? These kind of shakeouts like this, like you have these kind of candles that just look convincingly bearish until it just does like a massive Uno reverse, especially on the same day. Like when you see these kind of candles, those are meant to shake out the weekends. Those are meant to really scare people. And it kind of scared me for a bit. Thankfully, I bought back in. I did lose a little bit in between, because I sold a little bit lower, and then I bought back a little bit higher, like a few dollars higher. So I did technically miss out. It even got me a little bit too. Thankfully, I ended up getting right back in, because I was convinced that, okay, this is something weird is happening, right? But the point is, it's meant to shake out the weekends. It's meant to, and when you see these kind of things, and then Tesla rallies after that, it's meant to just like create a lot of FOMO and create a lot of like just missing out, right? And it's really freaking good at that, man. It really is. I've seen this happen so many times. It's ridiculous, especially on Tesla. It's so ridiculously good at it. But that's something to consider. On top of that, going back to the weekly, Tesla RSI looking pretty good. No complaints in my opinion there. It's looking pretty okay. Pretty. I wouldn't say it's like insanely bullish, but it's not bearish. It's very okay, if not slightly bullish. But the main thing here to note is the MACD. The MACD is flipping bullish. It's already flipped bullish. It's looking more bullish right now. And it's looking, honestly, especially if we close this week looking something like this, is looking kind of convincing. It's not looking bad. Like I'm liking the way the MACD is starting to curl back up to the bullish side. It's looking pretty darn good, right? Top of that, again, the daily is the only one I'm still a little bit concerned about, like I just talked about, right? That's the only thing I'd be a little bit concerned about. But again, don't forget, obviously, we're still technically, we have broken out of this massive bull flag. That's phenomenal. Let's go over to the 65 or 1 hour chart. This is the main thing I've been focusing on today for my members, right? We've been talking about this, and I don't know where this was. Man, I hate when this happens. Sometimes the movement, it's probably somewhere around here. Actually, that's probably like right around, yeah, it's right around here. But the main thing here is the fact that, and this is what I've been focusing with my members for the most of the day, because this is the most important part, is the fact that we talked about how, we're breaking above that 258 to 260 level, and we obviously did it in the first pretty much hour-ish of trading. That was great. And I was talking about how now what I want to see, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, or maybe Friday, but probably sometime this week, I want to see a retest. I want to see a retest as we go sideways. And that's pretty much what I said. I can scroll down and show you if you don't believe me. But I talked about first how I think we'll go sideways. I don't know where it is. That's where we did that. And I talked about it somewhere over here. Can't remember where it was. This one here. I think we will dance around this 260 to 265-ish area for now for a few days until we get Tesla's production and delivery report next week, which I think is next week Tuesday. It's coming out, which should be a major catalyst, right? But the point is the fact that, we pretty much did exactly dance sideways. And I also talked about how I want to see a retest. It's another post. I can look for it if you want me to, but I did say it. But, how I want to see a retest. Like, I really want to see it come down, which is exactly what it did pretty much in the last hour of the day. And so far, it's been looking pretty good, but ultimately take this area that we've pretty much been getting rejected at over and over and over, that we had issues breaking it back above. Now we did. Beautiful. A little bit of sideways consolidation, perfectly normal, come back down, and now turn that area that was a support into a new base, a new plateau, a new support, right? From a resistance to a support. You want to convert it into that. So far, it's looking good. I personally have a 2 to 3 day rule. I want to see this happen and stay like this. I want to see us maintain above this 258, 260-ish level for the rest of the week. That's what I want to see. That to me will be really good news. And that to me tells me that we're pretty much setting a base to launch the next rally. And I think the catalyst should be, at least in theory, the delivery and production report next week, which I believe for Tesla, for the year, it's about a 1.8 million estimate. And I believe for the quarter, it's close to around 480K vehicles delivered. So we'll see. That's going to be a major catalyst. And I think if it's at least like in line as expectations, if not, maybe even surpassing it, if it surpasses it, I think we're off to the races, man. I really do, but we'll see. But the point I'm trying to make is we broke above this ascending triangle, which is, again, like I said, it's a bullish pattern. We did break above it, and now we're, of course, retesting it so far successfully. Got a beautiful bounce towards the end of the day, and it's not looking bad. It's not looking too bad. So, again, I still wouldn't be surprised if there's some consolidation here sideways, but ultimately, it's looking good, man. It's hard to look at this right now, and, it's looking good. I don't know. We're above every major moving average, 21 EMA, 100-day moving average, 200-day moving average, 50-day moving average on the daily, on the weekly. We're breaking out of the bull flag. We're on the verge of retesting once again the final boss trend line from all-time highs. And if it breaks above that 265 to 270, that triggers that massive rally. I think it'll squeeze to probably 300. We trigger potential inverted head and shoulders above 270, roughly, give or take. Ideally 300, but 270 is very reasonable as well, right? I don't know. It's looking good. It's looking good. Sometimes I worry that's looking too good, honestly. Sometimes when the market looks too good, that's how it gets you. But it's hard to just not feel bullish about this. It really is. I'd have to see something pretty bearish develop to flip to being just overall bearish and over bullish. So that's the main thing I'm looking at. That's how I'm seeing it. Last thing we'll take a quick look at is, of course, going to be options flow. Overall, got some pretty juicy options coming in here near the end, but they're all extremely long dated for pretty much January of 2025. So very, very long dated. Nothing too crazy. Short term has kind of died down a little bit. It's a little chill now, so nothing too crazy to report there. And of course, the last thing to note, which I think is pretty much what's going to be triggering the squeeze, is the TTM squeeze in the weekly. Still red circles, but the second this turns into a green circle, and especially if these bars start flipping to the blue bars, right? Kind of like what it did over here, back here, right? Just from the kind of gold to blue bars. That should, in my opinion, tell us that the direction has been picked. It should be up. Again, not guaranteed, but it seems like it's hinting that it wants to squeeze upwards. And I think the delivery report Tuesday, it should be Tuesday, with a break above 265 to 270 should be like the trigger. It really should be the trigger. And I think, I don't know, it's looking good. That's all I'm going to say. It's looking good. But all in all, thank you so much for watching. A little bit of a longer video, a lot to discuss. But yeah, thanks for watching. And as usual, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.